My name is George Maurer. I'm a graduate from St. John's St. Ben's 1988, and I'm a composer, a freelance performer, a music designer, and music director, and I get to travel and perform all over the world and collaborate all over the world with my art and what I do. From my jazz group to variety bands to composing and writing music for theater and symphonies and ballets. So it's just something that's grown over time. And an important aspect of that is sometimes coming back here to connect with mentors and musical mentors and professors, and to be mindful of where my creativity comes from, which a big part of it is here, which in essence I don't think I've ever really have left. I love this place. Well, I had an opportunity to come back to campus and spend 5 months here on an artist residency, and the project I proposed and chose to work on was the installation of a GPS-located sound walk. And GPS-located sound walk is where you can take sound or sound texture or sound recordings and place them in a specific environment. And then as you're walking through an environment, you get to hear additional sounds around you that mix in with the ambient environment that you're in, but also help connect you to the space in a really unique sort of way. And so my idea of doing a sound walk here was to take recordings of the poetry of the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke, a poet who I was first introduced to when I was 18 years old by a monk here at St. John's who taught German, Father Mark Thamert. And eventually those poems that he introduced to me stayed with me and became opportunities for me to visit artistically as a composer, to set them to music, which I did. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to take those recordings of the songs, the poetry, as well as conversations that I had recorded with this monk over a 20-year period. So the name of the sound walk is For the Sake of a Single Poem. Mark was my professor for German my freshman year, and I didn't even know he was a monk until like maybe a couple months into the class, because he never wears monastic robes. He just dressed like a cool professor, you know. So having him in class was a lot of fun because he was introducing us to poetry. I mean, it was German language class, but he was using poetry as a vehicle for the German language, and one of the poets he introduced was Rilke, and it fascinated me. But towards the end of his life, he was battling stomach cancer. I would drive up to St. John's and visit him in the Abbey Health Center, and I would jailbreak him for an hour or so, and we would walk around the quad, and he would linger outside the classroom that he used to teach in and listen to another professor teach the class that he used to teach, and I could tell that he really, really missed teaching. So I would bring recording gear, I would set up, and of course when you read a poem you also talk about the poem and you have a discussion, and so you hear all the conversation that leads into or the application of that poem to your life. It was quite a ministry.
I live my life in widening circles that reach out across the world. I may not complete this last one, but I give myself to it. I circle around God, around the primordial tower. I've been circling for thousands of years, and I still don't know. Am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song?
And interestingly, the conversations that cover this period of time in his and my life relate to the poems that the German poet Rilke is talking about. Relationships in life, the need to experience many things in life in order to really be artistic and creative. And so I incorporated some of those conversations into the sound walk here on campus. And the technical side of things does take some time, which is what the fun part of the creative process with the sound walk has a technical side. You have a hybrid map of all of Collegeville in front of you on the screen, and you can see the various buildings, and as you increase the size of that map, you can start drawing circles and lines and shapes. There's sound zones, and so into those various spots, I would drop sound files. You have to be here to listen to it. You can't just dial it up on the app, because that's unfair. You're not going to have all of our campus around you to inspire you, so you have to experience it while you're here. But it's up in the air 24/7, 365. The experience of the sound walk might be very different on a summer day or on a winter day, and that whole idea gives the experience of the sound walk a lot of different creative potential. It's something that might take about 90 minutes or so, but as you're walking around various places on campus, these sound files will start playing, and as you're looking at the statue of Benedict in the courtyard outside the Great Hall, a poem will start playing, and you'll hear Mark's voice talking and introducing you to the poetry of Rilke. When you cross over to the Abbey Church, I actually have Father Mark's commencement address for the class of 2008, which was given in that space, in the Abbey Church. It now plays when you walk in and the church is empty. You can sit and hear a commencement address as if you were attending, and Mark is talking about poetry and the connection of poetry with our place in life and how to use poetry as a means of understanding the world. The walk continues out into the woods, along Lake Sagatagan, along the student and monastic beaches, and all along the way, each stage of the sound walk advances through different stages of relationship and life, until some of the conversations at the end are the latter conversations I had with Mark towards the end of his life, and how he was talking very honestly as a monastic about embracing death and embracing the rhythm of life, which is death is a part of, and using poetry as a way to explore and understand that. Matter of fact, the final stage of the sound walk, you're actually walking up the broad avenue of the Abbey Cemetery towards the top where all the monks are buried. It's a really beautiful view when you turn around and look back over Lake Sagatagan. You can see everything laid out in front of you. They picked the right spot to put all those monks when they were done with their service to St. John's. And I have Mark reading Autumn Day, which is the very first poem that he taught me when I was a freshman. So as you are in that place, in that space where life is celebrated, you can hear all of this swirling around you, and it's an amazing effect. It really brings us more in connection with what it is that we have here in Collegeville and at St. John's Abbey and University. This is an opportunity for, in one sense, for people to physically connect with Father Mark, even though he's not here anymore, for those who knew him, to hear his voice, to hear his lessons, but then to also be connected to the poet Rilke, who is a very important creative person and during his lifespan, and then to also connect what the poems are talking about to the various stages of life, which is why the sound walk does walk us through gardens and through woods and along lakes and into cemeteries, and to talk about all of these different types of things, while we're physically in spaces like that. The ultimate end result, I think, is to give an experience of being rooted and connected to the world, and that's what the arts do. That's what their purpose is. It's really kind of cool to be able to put all that together and to have it fall into place. While I was here, the idea just kind of fell into place. Of course, do the sound walk here, use Mark's voice, use the recordings that are already there, create new sounds, and then use the physical environment here to bring that story to life.